everyone. So, as promised, I wanted to come live and have a couple conversations with a good friend of mine. So, you guys have seen me have conversations with Kojo. Sorry, apologize, but you have seen me have conversations with Kojo, and he has his own podcast, which is called Crucial Conversations. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce him, and we're just going to have a conversation. So, just so you guys know, this is just a casual conversation between two friends that grew up in the village of Dalton. So, I'm going to add him to the stage now. Hello there. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How you doing? Your favorite survivor?
I am great. Can't complain. Can't complain. So thank you, number one, for joining my platform. I know we always have these conversations on your show, so it's kind of good to have them on here, just so my audience can get an understanding of who you are, where you're from, why we have these conversations about Dalton. Because so just give them an introduction about you and just tell them just anything you want to about where you be started.
I appreciate that, and thank you for having me into your house. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Yes, yes. So I wipe my feet when I walk in at the mat at the door. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
yeah, but thank you for having me on. Yeah, yeah. Again, my name is, well, a lot of people know me as Osu. So you know what I'm saying. So I know how you say.
I
Most people
did.
know me, but Kojo is actually officially my first name, but I always went by Osu. So most people who know me from Dalton know me by either O, or a lot of people call me Osu. But anyway, yeah, Dalton. It's, first of all, with all that's happened the last couple of years, especially, um, I appreciate our conversations. You tapping me in, because Dalton is a special place. It really is,
Right.
and I've lived a few different places, obviously, in my life, but Dalton is where my childhood was, and part of my adulthood too. You know what I'm saying? Eventually,
Mhm.
I ended up moving east to the East Coast, but Dalton's a special place. So, as far as my Dalton heritage, so my parents are from Ghana, but they moved here in the 70s, and I was actually born in Cincinnati. So we moved to Chicago in like 84, I want to say.
Okay.
So we lived in Inglewood for a short time.
What
Um,
part? By where I'm from,
it was
Inglewood.
on off of Damon, like
I used to be
60.
from Winchester. What? Where you from?
Everybody from the wood, but we had a short time there, so I can't claim the wood at all. So
Okay.
but,
My
it was
family's still over there, so I claim Inglewood all day long.
all
Hey,
day,
y'all.
all day. Yeah. So we lived there. We lived there about a year, and then my parents, the house they bought was in Dalton, 142nd place, right off of
Same thing. We came from Inglewood to Dalton.
Maybe. Absolutely.
Oh,
And
funny.
back then it was really cool because I'm a kid, at that time I'm like 5 years old, but we moved to Dalton, and we lived on 142nd place, right off of
Hmm.
Indiana, so the west side of Dalton, basically, damn near in Riverdale, really, really on the borderline, but such a cool neighborhood. So we got there in '84, and yeah, back then we just were outside riding our bikes. Dalton
I
was,
remember.
you know what I mean?
That was the coolest time to be a kid, was around that time, period, in my opinion. It was
Yeah,
right when the world was, I feel like, stable. That's a good
yeah,
way to explain it. But around the time when we had our childhood, we had real childhoods. We went outside, we played, we jumped rope, we did catch, play tag. We rode bikes. I didn't ride bikes. I never had a bike, let me not lie, but I'm just saying part of our childhood. Everybody else
yeah,
around me had bikes.
yeah.
But and that's just because I never wanted to ride one. But
No,
we had real childhoods.
yeah, we did. We sure did. We back then, you know what? If you couldn't go outside, that was like torture. So if you got grounded,
Listen.
It was torture because now Dalton back then, and I would include Riverdale too, because but it's interesting now because having I have two kids, and now we don't just let them go outside and just go anywhere. You know what
No,
I mean? Like unless we with them, it's a
it's
different
so
thing.
unsafe.
Back then, Dalton, the beautiful thing about Dalton is that my my block my block wasn't just it wasn't the whole neighborhood was like your backyard.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Now
So
you have to tell them while you're explaining them
yeah.
who somebody in the community that you grew up around, because they have to understand that you are a product. You didn't go to District 148, but you still knew someone that was very powerful in District 148. So
Oh yeah.
explain that part of
Er-
it as well.
Ernesto
Yes,
Nichols, yeah. Yeah,
yes,
we actually grew up really on the next block from
yeah.
the Nichols family because they were on 143rd, like that last house right on Indiana. So
Hmm.
they were right there. So we know me, my sis. I have two older sisters, and we knew everybody. We all the Neeks, Unique,
Absolutely.
Dominique, Shanice, they were all crew. So and Ernesto, I remember him far back when we were in Lincoln. So
Hmm.
he always been around, always been a staple of the community. And I thought it was so cool when I saw the interview the other day. I'm like, okay, Ernesto he's the OG. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
um, but it was an interesting time growing up in the 80s in Dalton. And, you know, I would say, it's hard, even when we talked to Jason weeks back or months back when we both interviewed Jason together, trying to explain why and how Dalton is such a special place. It's hard to really understand unless you've been there. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you.
And it was, back then everybody was outside. It was a type of community where you just go outside and you just meet friends. And I know a lot of communities were like that in the 80s, but Dalton was special.
We are special, not worry, we still are special, because
Yes.
the good thing about that is I still talk to all of you guys that
Hmm.
we all grew up together. We've never dated, we've never crossed the line ever, but we are still genuine friends.
Yes.
Even like with Jason, hanging out with Jason and the crew yesterday, it's like when we grew up as kids, we had real friendships, real camaraderie, and we still have the same thing in our adult lives.
100%. And Dalton, well, I'll say the whole Southland, but we'll just talk about Dalton for now. A lot of really great people came out of Dalton.
Yeah,
They really did. And
we birthed the mayor. So, I mean, not birthed, but we helped train the mayor. So we
100%.
absolutely had some wonderful people that came out of Dalton.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a place, and even as it evolved, right? So,
Hmm.
back in the 80s and not even up to the late 80s, it was a lot more white, and we were one of the,
You remember that part too.
you know, we weren't the first black family,
We
but
were.
you were
Yeah, we on our block, we were the first
okay.
black family on our block. But
Okay.
I'm not gonna interrupt your story time. But I know
No, no,
that's
no.
what I'm saying. I know where you're going with that, because it wasn't fun times when we first moved to Dalton.
It was interesting when we first moved to Dalton
Very.
because we weren't the first black family on 142nd, but I would say it was like maybe a handful. It might have been three or four people there,
Hmm.
but it was still a fun community. And I do remember even at that time, there was some racist stuff. I didn't experience it per se at my age, but I do remember my oldest sister
Hmm.
riding a 10 speed and some guys rolled past her and threw some firecrackers at her or something.
Oh wow.
And she at that time she might have been 10 or 11 years old, you
Hmm.
know. But Dalton, obviously, if people who know about Dalton and go back to that time, it did evolve. And from about 85 to about 88,
Hmm.
89, it drastically changed because you have white flight, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I moved out there. I moved to Dalton in '87.
okay,
So in '87, I was almost 10 years old, or about 10 years old. That's when we moved.
okay, okay. So I had a couple years on you. But
Yeah.
even by 87 to about 88, 89, 90, you could really start to see the change in those few years, and start having that white flight in Dalton.
Yeah.
But you know, to me, it was still it was a great place, and I was
It
I,
was.
as a kid, you don't really understand why people are moving. You don't really get it.
You
You know
know
what I'm saying?
what? But when that happened, that whole transition was like overnight. So
Yes.
when that happened, the friends that we had turned into childhood friends that we still have to this day.
Hmm.
So it wasn't that it was a bad thing. It was just that it was an interesting thing. And look what it still produced.
I agree. I felt like it was their loss. I was like, I didn't understand. Like anybody who was leaving the neighborhood, I just felt bad
Hello.
for them. Like you just leaving because it was just fun. It was
Mm-hmm.
just fun, and it was just a great place to be. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand it at the time, but like you said, around that time, I still have friends to this day. We have mutual friends we know that moved in that 88, 89, 90, 91. When we
Right.
start to become into junior high and all that stuff, all those many more people moved in. So, Dalton was just that kind of place that you just wanted to be, and it was great. I remember one of my fondest this is crazy though. People are gonna think I'm crazy, but the first time, the first time I ever got on a plane, my aunt had a wedding in Oakland, and I was like, it was 90. I was like 11 or 12 at the time, and we flew out
Okay.
to California for a wedding. And I loved our neighborhood. I never wanted to go anywhere. To be honest
Right.
with you, yeah, I love just
As
being
a
in our
kid,
neighborhood.
me neither. The first time I left was at 14, so I understand what you're saying. Like,
Yeah. I didn't feel that need where, my kids now they be like, where we going this summer? Where we going? They want to go somewhere.
right, right.
Yeah, we didn't really go. I didn't really do. I don't know about you,
Oh,
but we didn't
my
really
first
do.
summer away, I went through hell.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a boyfriend. I was so mad.
Oh,
Let me stop. But go ahead,
well,
finish.
no, I feel you though. I feel you. I didn't have a girlfriend at that time, but I had somebody I had a crush on, and I didn't want to leave. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because I was trying to architect a girlfriend at the time. But anyway, so we went out to California. This was summer of 1990. And I remember because "You Can't Touch This" was like the biggest song in the world at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I couldn't dance, but I was trying to dance at this wedding. And needless to say, when we went out there for like a week, when I came, how much I missed the neighborhood so bad when we came back. We stopped, remember Jewel Osco
Mm-hmm.
on
I
144th.
miss it so bad.
Yeah.
I miss it so bad. I was like, that was the first store. That was the first time I started stealing and stopped stealing all the same day.
Oh, listen,
It's a story for
listen. I got a story for that too, though.
oh my god. I got arrested and everything. I gave it up.
Oh man.
I'm sorry.
No, that's funny. That's funny. I want to hear that story. I'm gonna tell you mine too, because now at 10, I remember this too. With 10, we when we came back that night, we came back from California. We stopped at Jewel on the way
Mm-hmm.
home, and I got out the car and actually kissed the ground.
You
It's
was really excited. You
Yeah, I was happy to be home, and I know they're gonna be like, "Who
oh my
this guy's wilding,"
god.
but it's
I know that
crazy.
feeling though. When we used to take road trips as kids, when we used to come back home, we'll have like this certain marker that'll tell you like you're almost there, and
Yeah,
then you have this one marker. You're like, oh shoot, we got 30 more minutes. So I get
yeah.
it.
You can't wait. You
I,
can't wait to get back home. I couldn't wait to get back home to my friends and get back home to the neighborhood and just get back to being in Dalton. So for me, I really did love the neighborhood like that, and that's what it was. So but it's funny that you said that about stealing. So mine wasn't a Jewel though. Mine was that it wasn't Fairway yet, because now it's Fairway, but mine was when it was called Sturks.
yeah, Sturks. Oh my god, I remember that place.
Yeah. So I used to steal.
Dang.
It's funny. I actually told this story on the Crucial Combo podcast. It
Hmm.
was either I told it some episodes back. I told the story about stealing, And yeah, I was stealing fruit snacks. I used to steal fruit snacks.
The little stuff.
I'm like, I don't know, 9 years.
Ah,
Did you lose me?
hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. I took you off of the stage by accident. What, you
Oh,
said you were
okay.
9 years old. Started over. Sorry, you
Oh,
guys.
okay.
My bad.
Were you trying to protect me in case the statute of
I know,
limitations run up?
no. I just was moving the computer off my legs and my leg was falling asleep. I
So
want to hear this story.
I used to put the fruit snacks in one of those like the varsity style jacket that had the elastic at the bottom. So I would
Mm-hmm.
pop it in there like that, and I got away with it like few times. You know what I'm saying? And then yeah, one of those days I put it in there and got
I'm
to
saying
that
it
front
fell
door of
out.
Sturks, felt that hand on my shoulder. I'm like, oh man.
Was it lost control or security or actually somebody that worked there?
I
I'm so
think
interested.
it was like security or it wasn't nobody that worked there. Because
Okay.
the people who worked there wasn't that sharp. They didn't catch me the first couple times. So, but
Oh, now you gonna say they wasn't that sharp because they were doing their job and not actually watching you take their merchandise because they didn't think you were gonna come in here and do that. I get it.
exactly. Exactly. But they must have noticed that the stock on the fruit snacks was coming up short a little
Yeah,
bit.
and every time you come in there, they like, wait a minute, we had three, and now we only got two. Yeah.
Exactly. They said, look at
Hmm.
that young man. His belly look a little bit bigger than what it should. So, but
Those
yeah, we
fruit
got caught
snacks
up.
back in the days used to be so great compared to the recipes that they're using now. Is such a big difference.
Oh
But I
yeah.
can see why you. So what happened when you walked out the door? They tapped your shoulder. I
Grab
want
me
the
on
story. I
grab me
need
on the
it.
shoulder, and that feeling
Did
when
you
you're like,
try to run?
damn.
Like what? What happened?
Nah, I didn't run. I probably should have, but I felt that hand on the shoulder, and the first thing I'm thinking like, damn, I'm caught. So they I
How
can't
much are
remember
fruit snacks? Wait, let's.
how
Okay,
much more than what I had at 9 years old.
I got you. Keep going.
Probably $2 or something back then. Now
Okay,
they
yeah, that
probably
was a lot. Yeah,
$8. But back in
yeah.
the day, yeah, $2 was a lot. So I can't remember if I ended up at Dalton Police Station, but I don't know. Either the police station, whatever the case is, they had to call my father to come and get me. And
I can imagine how that conversation went. Let's hear
you
it.
know, you know what it was? I didn't get my ass whooped. You know what it was? He just was like, "You really stealing the fruit?" It was like you stealing fruit snacks. Like why are you?
Did he feel like he failed you?
Yeah,
Like,
well, he looked at me like I failed him. Like, word, this is what you doing?
you
You
can't
stealing fruit
ask me
snacks?
for that, right?
Yeah, like, what are you doing? And then my sisters called me a
I
jailbird.
think I
Oh,
would
that's
kick my
funny.
son ass just because I would have bought it for him.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? So, and I
No,
remember
no, no.
my sisters calling me a
That is
jailbird. So
funny.
that was funny too. So, but
Oh my God.
now wait, hold on.
No, let me tell you.
Tell me about your jewel
Okay,
story.
my Jewel story. So remember Jewel Osco was like the store, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Jewel Osco had electronics section that had some really advanced calculators at that time. That was
I
like
remember.
$40.
Yeah.
So I told you I was stealing the big stuff. So my sister had went in Jewels with me one day, my oldest sister, and she was like, "Oh, if you could give me one of those, I could sell it." Now me, I'm like 10, about your age.
Something about that 9, 10-year-old stage, right?
So me and my other sister, we had wound up. I'm not gonna say no names because I would have put their information out there. I'll tell on myself though. So me and my other sister, we went up to Jewels. Now my sister's coached us on where to go, how to do it, what take it out the wrapper to put it in your pocket, do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So man, we didn't know that they had loss prevention at Jewels. So it was just like plain clothes people watching us just
Watch the whole time.
watching us steal. We all nervous and stuff. Sorry.
Y'all was probably
So
looking back and forth over your
listen,
shoulders.
looking so stupid. Man, they just come, they come grab us. They once they see that we took them, come grab us, take us to the back. We sit in the back. We looking like, what's going on? What's wrong? They was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, can you guys empty out your pockets? I was like, oh shit, we caught.
We caught.
So yes,
Niggas up.
listen, they took us to jail. They made an example out of us. They took us to, well, we was these girls, and you know, I was 10. I told you about 87, 80, 88, 90. Yeah. So it was early on. I was 10, so it had to be like 88.
Okay.
And they took us to jail. They made us go to court. It was yes. When I say it was a lot. Another story. Listen, at Kmart. Remember Kmart?
Yeah. That's where well, it turned into Ames eventually.
Yeah, it went to Ames, and then now it's what is it?
Is it Food for Less now?
Food for Less, yes, that's what it is.
Kmart, yeah, I remember Kmart, yeah.
Listen, me and my sister, I was probably like 12. I'm thinking 7th grade. We were at Kmart. My parents had between my parents, my grandparents, they had both gave us $450 a piece. So they let us go to Kmart to use some of that money to buy Christmas gifts, because you know Christmas was big back when we were children. So you wanted to make sure that, hey, I got my Christmas money already, but I still need to buy gifts for everybody else. So it was a family in there, a mother, a daughter, and a son. And they had a kid with them. Now, this lady accused us of stealing her purse. Not only did she accuse us of stealing her purse, she accused us of taking $50 from her. Now, mind you, me and my sister had not paid for anything yet. We were not on that. We already understand the climate of the community that we live in.
Yeah.
And
what year was this about?
This was when we was 12. So this was
91.
like 7th grade, about 91. Yeah. About 91, because this was before 8th grade year. But 7th grade, my sister was in a freshman at that time at Thornton. So I was in 7th grade. She was a freshman. The police security came up to us. They pulled us to the side. Now, man, I've been through this before when I was actually stealing. So I kind of know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, what's going on? So they took us in the back. They searched us. Now, my parents not there. You know, at least with the other place, they waited for my parents when they called the police, and they took us down to the police station. But this one, they going through our stuff. My parents not there. They're questioning us, and they're talking about this $50. Now, man, me and my sister both got like $400 and some on us a piece because we had just got money. So they're like, oh, they got money on them, and they're probably going around stealing from folks and blah, blah, this. Man, this lady said we stole her purse. Back then, they didn't have surveillance cameras. So that was like something that you can't just like go run the cameras and then you'll see what's going on. Now you got to prove that I didn't steal this money. So they arrested us. They took us down to the police station. My dad, he was at work. He had to leave work early to come and get us. So now this is me and one of my older sisters. So they court dated everything. So my dad proved that we had $450. But do you know they still made us go through the process for them to drop the case?
Wow.
Because we had to prove that was our money that we had. Do you know how much time off of work my dad had to miss taking us back and forth to court for them lying on us, saying that we took their money? Man, I'm a kid. Now, mind you, when we moved to Dalton, I'm not going to say that we was rich, but we had money. We was not broke. My mother worked for the post office. She used to work a lot of overtime. My dad worked 3 jobs. So we was never any broke kids, and never definitely trying to be out there robbing people, because that's basically what I'm not going to steal your purse, lady. And I'm trying to do my own Christmas shopping. After that one stealing fiasco, that scared me for the rest of my life. So it's like, you ask anybody, I don't even allow nobody to steal when they with me. I don't care if it's a pack of candy, put that shit back. Not what you want nothing doing with me. So it's like, it was just a scary experience. That's the only way I can explain it, is because you have to go and fight and explain something that you know you didn't do because somebody is saying that you did it. And now it's like, you have to prove, hey, this is what I had. This is what I came with. These are the birthday cards. I mean, the Christmas gifts cards that I got. This is the check that my grandma wrote me. But I shouldn't have to go through all of this to explain that this is my money. But
that's insane.
It was insane. It was scary
That's
too.
insane. I mean, that's
we won. I mean, we should have.
Thank God. And this was all in Kmart.
Yes. I used to hate that Kmart after that. Boy.
I bet you did.
I was glad when they closed down. I was like, good for y'all.
Yeah, they had that joint, and then I can't remember if Venture, because Venture was
I know we had Ames. But did we have Venture?
We have, you know what?
Zayres. I think we had Zayres.
Was it Zayres?
I don't know. Anybody?
No, there was a Venture, but I can't remember if it was up. I don't even know. I don't know where it was. I
remember Ames though. You was right on Ames though.
And I remember Ames too, but wow.
We had a couple department stores there before they turned it into a grocery store. I do remember that.
Yeah, they did. They had a few things over there. And then going back to the well, now I don't know what they officially call it, but obviously 142nd and King Drive, 142nd and Chicago Road. You know, that used to be a kind of like a mall back in the day.
Yeah, remember they used to have parties over there too.
Yeah, they sure did. That thing evolved into a lot of different things over time.
They used to get it cracking back there. I might have went to one or two, but you know that was.
Yeah, how you know?
I'm just saying, for observation purposes, I had to go check it out. But now Dalton is definitely have its history.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about Dalton now is because of what Henyard has done with Dalton, our businesses that we've had in our community, some of them that's been in our community since we were kids are no longer around just because she was trying to use pay-to-play tactics, which is sad for us because now we're going to have to work very hard to show new business ventures that want to come into Dalton the reason why they should come into our community.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is like even with the St. Patrick's, you know, I was with them yesterday. They opened April 4th. If you guys want to go online on their website, just a shameless plug for them, so I hope they're listening. Yeah. But you guys go on their, the St. Patrick's website, Google them. I don't know their website by heart, but if you go on their website, you can make a reservation for their opening day or any day there after. I don't know how far out the calendar go, but they are taking reservations, and they do have a full bar menu as well. So April 4th is their first full day.
It looks great. It looks great.
It is so I'm still gonna go there and do the interview on the inside of it. They're just doing a couple more maintenance items to their elevators. So they want to make sure that everything is, you know, up and running and good. And then that way when I'll come closer to when they're going to open. And then that way I can do the video and everybody can see what I get to see, which is their wonderful establishment. And it's very nice. So kudos to the Kamaras. Yeah. And I'm going to ask them that question that everybody wanted me to ask, which is, why did they call it the St. Patrick's? I want to know that too. I'm kind of very interested in there. So I told them, I said, that's going to be one of the questions I need y'all to answer. I don't want to know now, so I don't know yet, but excited.
No, that's dope. That's dope. Well, what do you think about the, you know, with everybody, with all the noise and the unwanted attention that Tiffany Henyard brought to the village? Do you think, in turn, it's gonna attract people eventually?
No.
Businesses and so on back to the village, because it seemed like with the attention that's been put there. So, for instance, like when I used to tell people about, I would never say I'm from Dalton outside of Illinois because most people didn't know. For the most part, you had to say Chicago, right? But
absolutely,
everybody know Dalton now. You know. Which,
oh my God,
you know, could be negative turned into a positive. You know what I mean?
It's so hard. It's funny you say that because a lot of people come up to me and they be like, "Oh my God, you're the one that's fighting for Dalton," and I just look at it as just that I just wanted to make sure that we stopped corruption. That's all we did. I mean, yes, we were fighting for what's right and we were fighting for our tax dollars, but when you don't speak up, you won't get heard. So that's what we were doing. We were speaking up about the corruption that we were witnessing live.
Right.
So, and we still are witnessing. And the crazy thing about Dalton is that we had to vote her out. Nothing that we did. I want people to pay close attention to this. Nothing did got rid of this mayor until we went to the polls and voted her out. We have to change that within our leadership. We have to have some type of protective measures into place where we can do a recall for any elected official. Because to have to sit 4 years and suffer and allow somebody to drain your bank account because you couldn't get them recalled, that's not right. And it shouldn't happen. And as taxpayers, we don't need that on us anymore. So. I'm sorry.
That's a great idea too. I hope at some point they put in that mechanism, and it's a great idea too. Obviously, every city, municipality, it's all depends on if they wanted to do it. But I think that's a great idea when you had mentioned that before. And if you have a situation where you can maybe do a recall after a year or after 2 years, if something egregious is happening, I think that's a good idea because 4 years can be a long time, you know.
For it is a long time, especially when you have been fighting since that person got into office, and then you're still technically fighting now. Like,
right.
Imagine we've been fighting for 4 years. We've been fighting her people. We've helped flip a lot of people onto Team Clean House 2025, but it's been a hard, long, drawn out fight. And like you said, mechanism in place. If Jason get in there and Jason start messing up, go to the polls, recall Jason.
Yeah.
But we have to be able to better track our leaders, like to make sure that we hold them accountable, even if they don't want to answer and hold themselves accountable. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that like we talked about before, like Dalton is a great example, and I see a lot of towns or cities across the country where I like to think that Dalton has inspired a lot of people.
We have.
I really feel that, and I've seen that as I've been paying attention to other towns, and people are like, "Yo, we need to make sure we show up for the board meetings. We need to make sure we show up for, you know, whether it be, the school board." Those are important too, because you got, like you said, you got to know where your tax dollars are going. And this is an interesting time, though, to me, honestly.
You know what's so funny about that? So we've been fighting so hard against Tiffany Henyard, that we haven't taken the time to step back and look at the school board, to look at what's going on in the school board. And now we see that we should have been fighting Tiffany and the school board, and maybe this superintendent would not have just got that raise that he did not deserve for a failing school district that is failing our children. We have to make sure that we are going forward paying attention to all leadership and government positions that we elect, because me focusing on the township, me focusing on Dalton, nobody was paying attention to District 148, myself included.
Yeah.
Could have caught this before this vote. Can you hear me?
Oh, you froze up for a second, but I got you now.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry. No, but I was just saying that we have to pay better attention to our library board, our park district board, our school district board, and our board for the mayor. Like we
Yeah.
have a board of trustees. We have to pay
Yeah.
attention to all the boards collectively, even if we designate like, okay, this person goes to this board meeting. If the board meetings are on the same day, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can make sure that you have live coverage for
Right.
each and every meeting. So like that's my goal, because like people say, everybody that is a content creator can create content, and there's room for everybody to do what they need to do, because
Yeah.
everybody can be in the same board meetings at the same time, because some board meetings are on the
Yeah. Absolutely.
same day. So we have
Absolutely.
to make sure that we all, especially as the content creators, are going and focusing in on certain meetings so everybody can still see, because we see that YouTube is a great way for people to get the news, right? So
Mm-hmm.
since YouTube is a great way for people to be able to get the news, we need to utilize it to our fullest potential and make sure that we all can cover every board meeting that's locally, if they're content creators that's local.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
And then
You know.
that way, we can start getting transparency. We have to show up.
Yeah, and the thing of it is too is that to
Go
your
ahead. I'm
point,
sorry.
you no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Mhm.
No, I wasn't saying
Oh,
nothing. Go
okay.
ahead.
It's a little delay, so I didn't want to be talking over you. So okay, there we go. So no, I agree with you. I'm saying that, YouTube has been now, obviously, I think that there's a lot of garbage material out there too, because some people are just making stuff just to be making stuff, and Tiffany Henyard was
Those videos that have the weird voices,
oh, those are the worst.
but they get like tons of views. It's so ridiculous,
Yeah, they
but
do.
you're
Yeah,
right.
they do. Yeah, they do. It'll be like Tiffany Henyard with a bucket of chicken and
Right. That's
like
how when I said Tiffany Henyard is arrested in the feds. And you know how people are saying she in LA. So like that
yeah,
video had like 100,000 views. It's like her with cuffs. That's not even her arms. Really?
yeah, yeah. She was out there getting some of that marathon burger and all that, but
Oh my God.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's interesting. So I mean, it's good for coverage. It's good for content, and but I think that there's to your point, there's a difference between just making some garbage just to make some content and not have any perspective behind the content, and not
Yeah.
have any, real concern about what's actually going on. So, just to your point, I think it's a good time because now I think people are paying attention to local government more. And of course, like you
Yeah.
said, people who creating content on YouTube are great for that if you have the right intention, because you could make people aware. Because
Absolutely.
like I keep saying, and like you said, Dalton, it all depends on what you get out of it. There's some people that
Yep.
got out of Dalton, they've gotten entertained by Tiffany. There are a lot of people who are probably going to miss her when she leaves because of the content, you know,
Yeah.
and it was entertaining. But at the end of the day, to me, I'm like, the bigger picture is that you can look at that and say, yo, you know what? Yeah, it was wild. Those board meetings were wild, people had their popcorn watching it, but you could say, you know what?
4 years though, that was like to us residents, and I know a lot of people like, oh, hey, that was funny. Y'all went through that. I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
But we support y'all. But it's like for 4 years we went through that. For 4 years we were bullied. For 4 years we were being talked about. It's just like for 4 years we went through so much, and we still couldn't get her out of office legally without voting her out of that seat. That's the sad part,
You know
because
what?
we
You know what's beautiful though to me. What's beautiful, and you could tell me what you think. I think that a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people aren't even tapped into local politics, in my opinion.
no.
Most people are tapped into federal, national politics, if you will. But for the local politics, I feel like what was positive about Dalton's the tragedy of the past couple of years, people are able to understand what people do. Like some
Yeah,
people don't know what an assessor does. They don't know what the clerk does. You know what I'm saying? Like they
absolutely.
don't know what people do. And I'm not saying everybody, but to me it was a level of education, because not just in Dalton, but all around the country, every town has those same positions or something
Yep.
similar. So when you start understanding like, yo, okay, my taxes are increasing. We had that problem a lot here in Jersey. We have a
Mm-hmm.
problem with high taxes, and depending on the town you live in, you got to understand what's going on,
Yeah.
because when those taxes go up or certain issues happen, you got to understand. It's good to understand what people do, and
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of what Dalton has had, is that people are able to even. I would venture to say some people don't even know what the board of trustees do in their town.
A lot of people don't understand what their role is, and they are there to basically protect the bank and vote for things that's budgeted within our budget, and to make
Mhm.
sure that our town does not get bankrupt like it currently is. And
Mhm.
that's what they were doing. They were doing their job the full entire time. And you watched it as Henyard still did what she wants. A lot of people might not have seen that or understand that, but they even voted no to the ice rink, and we still have an ice rink. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it is not that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. This is a weird situation where Henyard did not care about the votes that the trustees gave her. She still
Mhm.
did exactly what she wanted to do, when she wanted to do, how she wanted to do it. She spent money. She figured out other ways when they blocked her spending from the bank account to spend money through
Yeah.
credit card and other stuff like that. So if people ask why Dalton, I feel like it was Dalton because of the backhanded things that she was doing with our village, and then the backhanded things that she started doing within Thornton Township.
Mhm.
And when she hit the township up, it was worse for all of
Yeah.
us, because then we have her as in the village of Dalton as my mayor. This is
Mhm.
my mayor. We already fighting to get her out, and now you appointed in Thornton Township as our supervisor.
Yeah.
And now you want to have all these parties and dance and do all of this stuff, and give the seniors, our taxpayers, dollars for bingo gifts. And you want to seem like you feeding the people and doing all this stuff with these boxes and stuff. But everything you do is promoting you and your brand, Tiffany A. Henyard, and that's it.
Mhm.
That's all. And I'm so glad that this came to the light, how it came to the light, because if this would not have, we would be in such worse shape right now than what we
Yeah.
are right now. You understand?
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, is it conceivable that if it didn't come to the light the way it did, it's conceivable that she could have won again,
yeah,
right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
assuming that didn't come to the light, because you
Yeah.
know, we had talked about before, and I don't know if you wanted to talk about it, but other cities in the Southland where there's corruption,
The
you know,
corruption. Oh my
you know,
God.
I mean, I don't want to. I mean, I don't
No,
know
we still
everything
need to
about
talk
Harvey.
about it. It's funny you just say that,
Mhm.
because, like, okay, we're gonna talk about District 149. Listen, Tiffany Henyard has a deal with the people that are running for trustee on District 149,
Mhm.
meaning that if she is voted into that seat, she's going to get some kind of contractor role with that position. So we have to be very careful again with who we vote for and how we voting for these people, because and I'm gonna show y'all this plug of who's running. This is the one. This is the one with the team that we should be voting for, but I can't see their names. But I know it's Miss Cheryl, the team that has Miss Cheryl Tillman. She sent me the flyer, but I can't see read
Okay.
the name. But yeah, so District 149, Tiffany already, when I went to their special board meeting, she fired Odison and hired Delgado. So they're
Okay.
already maneuvering their way into that school district. So once Tiffany's plant trustees get elected, which all in the queue, thank you for doing that video that you did. She did a video to show that the three people that's on Sonia's ticket,
Mhm.
Sonia and two other people,
Okay.
they actually allow Henyard to get signatures for them for their petition, because they have a deal with Tiffany Henyard. Mind you, these petitions went out so long ago, but still, all in all, when they went out, Tiffany was still the same corrupt person that she is now, trying to be sneaky. And around the caucus time, they were still able to get signatures for Thornton for their petition, because their election wasn't until April 1st. So yeah, we have to make sure that we are not allowing anybody that is with Tiffany Henyard to get back into office, because she's trying as hard as she can. She thinks she's going to be wrote in, but I'm positive that nobody's going to write her in.
For the township.
We positive that Cassandra, somebody just said Cassandra, she doesn't even campaign like well enough to be elected into any office. I wouldn't, even if it was church, I wouldn't vote for her.
I never saw anything quite like that before. Where
listen, you were supposed to have an interview with her. Can you tell everyone about how that transpired?
Well, the interview, and I did a little reaction video to her F around and find out video that she put out a while ago. And I mean, this was maybe 3 months. This was like it may have been late last year, I want to say, right after I found out, because I hadn't heard of her, and you and I had a few interviews on my channel. We were talking about it, and you were like, "There's a Tiffany Henyard has a plant who's gonna run as an independent," and she ended up commenting on the video. So she had commented on the interview. She commented and said she didn't appreciate being called a plant, XYZ. I don't know her none the wise. I don't know her from anybody. So I had responded back, and I'm like, cool, you know what? I love to interview you and hear more about where you coming from. And she was like,
cool. Why is she on your platform watching my video? That shows you how much
she was following you.
But absolutely. But we
was following you. So,
thank you, because I didn't understand how she even saw that video. That was on your channel. That wasn't even on my channel.
Yeah, she and even that part of the conversation was not the whole podcast or the whole interview that we did. It was just a small portion, and I don't even believe you said her name at the time. You may have or may have not, but I don't.
I might have. I'm definitely not scared to call her out.
So she commented on it. I reached back to her and I responded on the comment. Here's my email address. Let's set up something to talk. And then we exchanged phone numbers. So I have her cell phone number too. So I gave her in the email, I sent her my cell phone. She sent me hers, and I think it was like you and I had talked maybe, let's say, on a Saturday or something. And we were supposed to talk. I was supposed to talk with her on the following Wednesday. So it was that we had confirmed with each other the day before, and then that day of, she turned into a ghost. You know what I'm saying? So, but
I was surprised that she agreed when you said that. I was like, she coming on your show.
What's funny? I didn't know anything. I was just intrigued because I had never heard of her, and you had never mentioned her. Nobody had mentioned her.
She was a nobody to start.
Nobody had mentioned her, so I was intrigued. I'm like, I would love to talk to this woman. And at that time, I could be mistaken, but at that time, she hadn't interviewed with anybody that I know.
Right? Of. She had not. She had
done no interview.
That was the funny part. So how did she find that interview? Like, you had to been watching or typing in my name to even find that, to watch it, to find your name inserted in that interview. So, like, are you watching what I'm doing?
Hey, well, I think you was the first person to call her a plant, and I was intrigued. So I was looking forward to the interview. Knowing what I know now, I'm laughing because now I know, and I've seen stuff. But this is
been a shit show.
This like 3 months ago, so I didn't really know who she was. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? She don't like being called a plant. Let me interview her and find out. And she just turned into a ghost from there. And then the first time I saw her speak after that might have been on Martin G's show. And that's when she was back and forth with Sherry. So so that was the kind of the first time. But it's interesting. I've never seen anybody campaign and be like, you can't ask me no questions, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what you think.
First of all, shout out to Bree. Let me tell you something. I talked to Bree the other day. So that's the lady, the senior, that she told that if you get into her face, Yes.
I don't mean to cut you off because this is. I just got to ask you before you do that. So you're talking because I saw the video when she said you can't ask me no questions and don't invade my personal space. So are you trying to tell me that it was a senior citizen who was asking a question?
Bro, let me tell you. Let me tell you. So we were at a meeting, right? I don't. You probably watched my live when we were at the
For
Dalton
sure.
meeting. And she was there. That was the one I believe Tiffany did not show up,
Hmm.
and she was in the audience in the back because she had on a pink jacket. And I kept saying,
Okay.
"That's her back there in the pink. That's her." So Bree, which is a resident, longtime resident of the village of Dalton, she
Uh-huh.
went up to Cassie and asked Cassie questions. Now, me personally, I was like, I just want to see her get up to the podium and see what she have to say. And then that's when I'll get up and say what I have to say. And then, we'll just go from there. Because, I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to, you're not going to approach her because I know how she is. If you go up to her face with me, she's going
Yeah.
to have an attitude.
Right.
So, yes, Bree went up to her, asked her question. She said what she said to Bree, called her a little girl, basically gave her attitude about asking questions, told her that she invading her personal space, blah, blah, this. And it was just like so rude. And this lady is a senior, older than her.
Wow.
And you're talking to her as if she really is a little girl and you want her vote. First off, you don't understand that Bree, I didn't mean to put your business out there, but she has anxiety like me, and first off, don't come in our don't do that to us because then that'll trigger us. You understand what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So it's like Bree had to how you have to do a real woosah, woosah. That's what
Right.
she had to do
Right.
in that moment to stop from seeing black. And I understand exactly what she was going through at that moment.
Do you know what she asked her?
She was asking her about her plan and what she planned on doing when she become mayor, and
Hmm.
just things about her platform.
Hmm.
Anything that you should be able to answer, and you should be able to answer without any hesitation if that's what you truly stand for. If
Yeah.
I stand for great leadership, I'm standing for integrity, I'm standing for transparency. I'm going to tell you about why I stand for this and what I'm saying I'm going to do for me to be able to show you my transparency, my integrity, my great leadership, all of the qualities that I'm telling you that I possess. So if you are running for a position in office and you can't answer the questions, that's a red flag, Cassandra. And the thing about her is that if residents can't come up to you and ask you questions, and yet you have somebody that swings golf clubs at meetings, I'm not going to say that person's name, but she's telling everybody that she's your campaign manager. If you wasn't losing then, you definitely lost that day. So, but yeah, so
Well,
she,
you know what's crazy though too is that I never, like I said, hadn't seen anything on her until Martin G. And again, I'm not going to sit here in front like I wish I had interviewed her. I really wish that interview had went on because it would have been interesting to interview her at that stage. Because
yes.
what was interesting is that now Martin G's when she was on his show, that might have been, and don't quote me, it might have been, let's say 2 months ago. We're now in March. That might have been in
Mm-hmm.
January. And I was supposed to interview her, let's say a month before that. I want to say it was before the new year, if I'm not mistaken. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it would have been interesting to see where she was at that time. And the reason I say that is because I always wondered what happened between the time I was going to interview her up until when she was on Martin G show, because she seemed very angry. She seemed extremely angry at the residents. And
But you remember she had did Jed's live before that. But
yes,
I
I'm
don't
sorry. Yes.
know if Jed's live before Martin G's was an impromptu live. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how his live started. I had remember because I joined in on his live as well, and
Right.
that's when she taunted me about my radiation that I had went through.
Right.
So when she was on Martin G's show, that's why she got mad at me and kept saying I call her a plant. But she had already did Jed's live prior to, and when
Right.
she did
Correct.
Jed's live, remember she said the first thing she would do with the village of Dalton is give it to the state. And
And have it.
that's what really people were looking at it like, why are you running for mayor to give it away?
Right.
That makes no sense. If that's what you want to do, let Jason House have it, because we are in a $3 million deficit, but we're not in a deficit where we have to just come in and give it to the state right away, because there's ways where villages can make money. So that alone shows that she's not competent and she's not qualified for that seat. And that's why she got mad, because she didn't have a platform. I'm sorry.
I don't understand the anger though. And the reason why I don't understand the anger, nothing personal against her, but I'm just saying that when you, and I did a reaction video off of that video that she did. It might have been a live about a week or so ago. She did a live where
when she had that pink on.
I can't remember. She had addressed, I guess she was addressing Bree being in her space. And she was like, just to let y'all know, nobody else better get in my space. You know, it's not going to be good for you. She sounded like she was going to pull that thing out.
Well, she said, fuck around and find out, basically.
Yeah,
that's
like
what she was
going to pull that thing out on
life. Girl, first off, Bree is a senior citizen. Bree got daughters, though, that will come, and then you could ask them to F8, fuck around and find out. I don't know what. I just say the words. I'm sorry.
Well, but you know what? Here's the thing. If you are, and again, just let me know what you think, because I observing it, I'm saying, okay, if you're going to be a politician and run for any office, whatever it is, mayor or any other office, to me, it doesn't matter whether it's local or federal, you're going to get criticized regardless. You know what I'm saying? And
absolutely,
people are not going to automatically support you regardless. It is what it is. Even the whole, even the whole comment about being a plant, that was your opinion. And at the end of the day, if it's me, I would have took the opportunity to explain why I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why they call it.
How many PowerPoints it could take, or bullet points, to take to say, hey, I'm not a plant because I came into this community this many years ago. I've done this in this community. I've done this in this community. I've organized this in this community. I'm doing this to help save my community. No, you saying you're running because you're tired of the trustees and you didn't get your escrow money. That's why you're running.
Well, again, like.
So her anger is because
the whole point is that you gotta
know how to vocalize what she's trying to do, because she didn't think it through. That's all it is. And you can't get mad at us because you didn't use your brain, little tink tink. That's your fault.
You know what? But that's what campaigning is. Campaigning, and again, maybe I'm wrong.
Oh my God. No, you're not wrong. Because let's discuss this campaigning. Because I love that you just said that. You going somewhere. I need you to go. Yes, campaigning is what?
Campaigning. If you tell me if I'm wrong, campaigning is another word for convincing, if you ask me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You could just call it convincing.
Let's go
there. That's my whole job. If I'm going to run for something, I got to convince you that I'm the best person to do it and vote for me. So the reality is you got to take all that criticism. That's just par for the course. You know
and you rewrite it to show, hey, I know that you guys feel like I'm not going to be able to be a good leader, but this is my leadership qualities and the failed businesses that I have had. This is what I have done. Like, you have not proven to us or showed us enough to even entrust with you, because you don't even have bullet points of what you're trying to do. So yes, you're right. Continue on about campaign.
Well, like I said, to me, the disposition is almost anger that anybody is questioning her, which is, it's just intriguing to me. I ain't gonna lie to you. I really wanted to understand it. And like we're all human, so I get how people can be offended by things, but it seemed like she seemed extremely angry at all of the residents. And I'm trying to understand that.
How mad she is at Jason. Jason has not did anything to this lady since he's been living in the village of the Daltons since we was kids. And her anger with Jason is so misguided.
Yeah.
It's like, lady, why does his name come out your mouth all the time? And you don't talk about what you're really trying to do. You're just talking about what you feel like he did wrong. Why don't you talk about what you can do right, instead of trying to just do a blame game for your campaign? You're not convincing us by trying to tell us something about a candidate that we strongly supported by 88%. So now all of a sudden, our 88%, you think that now we're going to change our mind and just go with you because you saying that don't vote for Jason because you don't like him? You haven't even made a good argument on the reason why you don't like Jason House. So what's your point, lady?
Well, what would have been interesting would be that, and that's why people do debates, right? So that would have also been interesting for her to do a
It's
debate.
funny you say debates. Oh, go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Oh, no,
That's
it. I'm just gonna say it. It would have been interesting. Because that's the whole point.
I needed you to say debates. I'm glad you said that because it was a debate yesterday. I missed it.
Okay.
It was covered. It was on Dear Woke Christian. I think Alicia Nicole, she taped it. So it was a debate for Thornton Township. It was Nate Fields, independent, Richard Nolan, Republican, and a new lady. Now this, swear to God.
Now, who's the new lady? Stuff. I'm not familiar with the new lady.
Nobody's familiar with this new lady. So this new lady name is LaShante Lolis Walton. She is running as a write-in candidate for Thornton Township Supervisor because our community deserves better.
Interesting.
So, lady, this is how she looked, y'all. Can y'all see that? So my very first question is, where did she come from? Where did this lady come from? Lady, you ain't been to the meetings. You ain't spoke up at the meetings. You ain't said nothing out about Tiffany Henyard. If you running for township supervisor, I feel like somebody should have seen you by now. You let us residents do all the work, do all the fighting, and now you just say, oh, I'm tossing my name in as write-in too. Really?
You know what? Can I ask you a question? And I think that is such a good point. Because Dalton and Thornton Township are very unique in the sense that the citizen participation, the resident participation is serious. So it's interesting that you do say that, and it's important. I think that, if someone is going to run for a position, they probably should have came to the meetings because, to your point, for residents to be so visible and to really go out of their way to get the information out there. Yes, I can see why you would say that. That may not be applicable in other cities or other towns, if you will, but I think in Dalton and Thornton Township, that's a good point because I think, to your point, and I'll just say this, is that that's probably why, I'm assuming, you tell me if I'm wrong, that's probably why Cassandra received the type of reception that she did.
Absolutely.
Because she wasn't around.
It's serious. It's serious to us. And the thing about that is some of these candidates are doing it for whatever reasons, but the residents have been fighting for change since she got appointed to that seat, right? She wasn't voted in. She was appointed to that seat. So therefore, when she was appointed, when we started coming to the meetings, and I wasn't the first one to start going to the meetings. I started going when I could, right? But we've been fighting for all of this time at the township. Where were you with your voice when we were doing this? Where were you, Richard Nolan, with your voice when we were doing this? Where were your trustees with their voices when we were doing this? You understand what I'm saying? Same thing with Christopher Clark and his trustees. Where were you guys when we were doing this? It's like so many people want to join in on something that's already pretty much done and written, last minute ditch effort, and it's not fair to us residents, and we take it very seriously, and we take it, I feel like it's an insult to me for you to be trying to run and you haven't even been there vocal to the meetings or anything. I feel like it's a complete insult that you're talking about what you can bring to the community, and you answer questions at a forum at a church that wasn't even government sanctioned. So it wasn't a real debate that they had anyway. It was just something that they put together
Right.
to try and get more press.
Mm-hmm.
Then y'all have, I heard they had Michael Smith. I didn't even watch the whole thing because number one, it was long drawn out, very boring, very weak. The answers was terrible. Yes, this is a debate. Like I said yesterday, everybody was like, "Well, why didn't Napo come?" I'm glad Napo didn't go to that shit show.
Wait,
it was
give me 1 second. Give me 1 quick second. I want to ask you about that. I was gonna ask you a question about Napo. 1 second.
Go ahead. Okay, but I finished talking to y'all while he moved away. So that debate was very weird. It was not something that was put on that was supposed to go on. It was not a scheduled debate on anybody's calendar. That was just something that they put together so they can get more press before the elections. I want people to not be fooled, especially by this lady who wants to be written in that have not been around. How dare you come in and now you saying that we should trust you when we haven't even seen you or heard your voice? I would rather vote for the lady that got into it, not got into it, but that the other lady, the teacher that was at the meeting that just passed Thursday, that got up and spoke. I would rather vote for her than vote for this lady because she's at the meetings and she come after she get out of school and her students actually even understand what's going on in the government now because of the big brawl in the township. So it's like, but we have residents that's been there, that's been showing up, that's been asking the questions, that's been doing the work. But now y'all want to come last minute and try and take over? That's not gonna happen.
Well, let me ask you, what do you say to people who criticize? Because I've been paying attention to some of the chatter, and some people are like, well, what about Napo? Why is he not, there and at the meetings and at a debate like you said? What do you think?
I think that Napo, number one, has been doing what he do in the community, and he has a lot of stuff that he's been doing since forever. So Napo does a lot of philanthropy inside of the community. Even I've done a couple events with him. Even when he did his turkey giveaway, I was just talk about that because it was like one of the best turkey events I've seen. The way that they had it organized, people got in, people came out. So he does a lot of stuff within the community. It's just that you have to be a part of his network or a part of their calendar so they can send you out the information to let you know what he's doing every week. So he actually is in the community and he goes out in the community a lot. Now, let's talk. This is me talking. So now, since we got people on here, I know somebody might get mad at me, but I'm gonna speak my mind since we're talking about the township, right? So that lady, no, don't even remember her name to write her name in because she has not been there. I wish y'all would write her name in there. No. Richard Nolan, first off, I don't even understand why Ryan is and Ryan is another one. He's a YouTuber, and I jail with Ryan, but I don't understand how you can say that you're supporting Richard Nolan's ticket, and that's the same person that basically called you out on your sexuality. He said some really dark things about Ryan and Ryan's sexuality and posted it on Facebook on his page and tagged Keith Price in it. And it was actually up on there for people to take screenshots of it on his personal page. This is Richard Nolan, the same guy who called a 14-year-old a twerking slut. Richard Nolan. So y'all vote for that if y'all want to. Talking about he an OG from Cabrini Green. So is my family. And what does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean because you're an OG from Cabrini Green? My grandma was one of the first people that moved into the Cabrini Green buildings. What does that mean though? For you haven't grown that much if you're talking about people's sexuality on your Facebook and you're talking about 14-year-old girls and how they dance and call them out of their name on your Facebook. That's not somebody I support, and that's not somebody I would vote for. But everybody had their own ideas. Everybody had their own opinions. Christopher Clark, he said he was taking his name off the ballot. Why is he still on there? Because he knew that when he said he was going to take his name off, that it was too late to get his name removed. He a lawyer, he know that. So with him dropping whatever he was dropping against NAPO, he still have his name on the ballot as well as his four trustees. I believe we have a slate of 4 because he had a full slate too. So now you got to watch out for Christopher Clark and his slate because we don't want y'all voting for any of his people. Let me tell y'all something. When they say corruption, that dude is corrupt. So y'all vote for Christopher Clark and Harvey if y'all want to for supervisor. Y'all not gonna be happy. Nate Fields, my opinion. I love Nate. Let me tell you something. Nate's father actually went to the school district, to the school with me, school district 148, when I was fighting for my son's IEP. Right before I pulled him out of school district 148, I just put him back in. But Nate was raised well, the right way.
Now, how old is Nate?
Nate is 30 something. Now, my thing with Nate, and this is just, and I ain't gonna let you be involved in this. I'm just say what I gotta say. Mm-hmm. Nate, I think that Nate is a people's person. I think that Nate can do the job, but I don't know if being popular over being ready to help with a large bank account and large budgets is something that he's ready for yet. I'm not saying Nate can never be the supervisor, but I don't know that I am fully vested in his skill set right now. And I think that I wish that when he was talking about running for supervisor, when we looked into it, I didn't read all of the qualifications and stuff that, a leader's supposed to have within that role. And it's hard to just place somebody in that role that doesn't understand budgets or that have not did. I don't even understand budgets to that capacity. People ask me sometimes, why won't I run? Because I don't want to use my extra brain cells for nothing but having fun for the rest of my life. That's just me. But, you have to understand budgeting. You have to understand your bank statements. You have to understand grants. Grants is a very big key component in the township. And you have to have somebody that has some type of background training and some type of business management training. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that Nate can't get it. I'm saying that Nate is polished. He can be polished, put it that way. But I just don't think that this first 4 years is for him. But if NAPO gets in, I don't think he's quite ready. But if NAPO gets in and NAPO fucks up, I think that in 4 years, Nate should have enough time to take a 2-year degree, go take some business classes, do something to make sure that you are 100% ready and that you understand politics and government and what goes into that role. Because in my opinion, as a voting resident, I need somebody in the township, I need somebody in the village that's going to get our budget right, to get us out of these deficits that we in. We need to understand where our money is at. And I don't need, I'm just going to use this as an example. Mm-hmm. When I was HR manager, I used to hire nurses, right? When you hire nurses, your hiring managers, depending on what facility, they have different requirements. Some don't want to spend all of their budget because when we do compensation calculations for nurses, it weighs in on their years of experience. Mm-hmm. So if you have 10, 15 years of experience, and then you've done ER, you've done, just different different facets of that profession, you'll get more money.
Of course, yeah.
So how many certificates you have in different telemetry, med surge, all of those roles, you get more money for that. Absolutely. So when you're hiring nurses, you have to take all of that into consideration for their payout, right? But when you hire a beginner nurse, they don't have anything to really put on their resume yet because they're brand new. Now, with my hiring managers, when we would do interviews, Some of them will be like, okay, I need a skilled professional nurse. They have to have this, and that. So in our operating system, we have to check out, do you have this, and that? And if they say no to anything, it automatically kicks their application out.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that the supervisor role should go like that, but it needs to be a better structure on how people can really apply to be able to be voted into that seat. Because if you don't understand basic finances and all of that, and you don't know that Robert Hunt is actually robbing us residents because he's using money out of the budget that shouldn't be used, that $66,000. Robert knows that she spent that money. You can't not tell me that he don't know that she spent that $66,000, but to the trustees, it's on their warrant list as just $66,000 that they're trying to get to pay for the toys, but they already know that money is spent. But you have to be able to, as a supervisor as well, understand where your money is going, not just your finance manager. And see, that's my thing, is that I don't know that Nate is ready to understand all of that financial input. I know, listen, people ask me, would I run? No, I would not run. I don't even want to be a trustee. I don't want to run for public office because it's too much involved in life. And I have everybody's in this township, or everybody in the village underneath me. And that's a huge responsibility. And when I take that oath, I have to take it with pride, and I have to be able to say, yes, I, Vivian Allen, I'm going to do this, and that. And for me, when I put my name on something, I have to do it right. So I just feel like Nate can be a supervisor. I feel like he's going to be very great at a supervisor role. It's just that I feel like right now he's not there yet. And you're right, what president has experience, but sometimes the popular vote wins. We've seen that.
Well,
Tiffany.
no, you're right. You're right. And but you know what? Everything you said was actually very logical, you know, as far as how to look at a candidate. And I think that's important, because if people don't look at stuff like that, then, and to your point, I think everything you just said was not only logical, but it's pragmatic. Because here's the thing. People take things so personal, I feel like, in politics, especially in this particular situation.
You lose real friends.
Yeah, everybody take it real personal. I don't think it's that
religious
personal.
in politics, Lord.
Religion in politics. But you know, here's the thing though. The difference here, and we talked about this before, the difference is that on the federal level, right? Voting someone in who's popular, yeah, things could go wrong, but there's a lot of other safeguards in place. You have Congress, you have Senate. But when you talk about a town, you don't have a safeguard. So if you're making the wrong decision, a lot can go bad. And there's not a lot of you have trustees, but there's not a lot of safeguards for a lot of the turmoil that happens. So to your point, yeah, I mean, this is something that people have to look at and really say, okay, I like this guy, but he may not have this particular type of experience. But a lot of people, and it's great you said everything you said, because a lot of people don't even know what qualifications someone should have possibly to be a supervisor. You know what I mean?
And let me answer seceding too. When I say that, and you're right, because some people are subject matter experts in certain things. Well, and I didn't finish my full story, but when you know what you're hiring, you're going to know what you're going to get. So if we hire somebody that we have to prepare and train fully, somebody that's going to work with a board that's not their own, it's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to have to learn on the job that's going to take them longer to get acclimated with that role than when you find somebody that's already been doing this for some time and understand certain things, then they can get right in that role and start right away doing the job. So if you hire a nurse that's been doing nursing for 20 some years, when she get into that role, she's going to know what to do. She know how to give needle draws. She know how to use the machines, and it might be like little different things in the system, but she understands everything that encompasses pretty much within that job. even when she have done other departments. So if they need her to float, she can float and do that, but she'll understand the work. So I'm not saying that Nate can't get in there and do the job. I'm just saying that we need somebody in there that can get up and running right away, as opposed to having to let somebody train themselves up and learn on the job, which I've hired people that have learned on the job before, and they've done an excellent job. But again, it goes off of the voters, because I've already voted. And do you feel like you want to wait for someone to learn everything, to learn the ropes, or somebody that already know the ropes to go ahead and do what they need to do? That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. So
And
Napoleon,
I love Nate. I hope Nate's not mad at me because I'm saying what I'm saying, but I really don't think that that at this moment we have time to play around with the township. And I do think a lot of people think that Napoleon won't have time for the township, but I think that there's a plan in place. That's the reason why he's running. So we have to give him a chance to actually get into that seat. So once we vote him into that seat, then we'll know, hey, well, what, if he's going to be there for the meetings, if he's going to do what he's supposed to do. Like I said, we also need a mechanism in place to be able to recall people, but that's something further down the road. But until then, I just think that we need somebody that can get our township started and out of trouble sooner than later.
Well, also to that point though, too, like, and you can tell me what you think, because when you look at different candidates, I think sometimes people have to also realize, because I know that somebody asked in the chat, was Napo at any of the meetings, and they asked whether Nate was in any of the meetings. But I think the other thing is that everybody doesn't have to campaign equally, meaning that
right,
if you have two candidates and one candidate has more experience, that candidate who has more experience may not have to
speak for itself.
Because again, campaigning is convincing. Exactly. I gotta convince. If I have less experience, I gotta convince you even harder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at it. If we even compare it to when Barack Obama was running, people didn't know who he was. Not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, people initially thought Hillary Clinton.
We knew who he was, but people around the world, right?
Yeah, in Chicago, people did, but outside of Chicago, a lot of people had never heard of him. And Hillary Clinton, everybody knew who she was. But what he did is sometimes you got to campaign harder and differently than the next person. So, and to that point, hopefully Nate shouldn't be mad at you. You didn't say nothing disrespectful. You're not saying nothing personal against him.
I just have to keep it real. And my thing is that we have to take our township back. We have to get our real financials in a township, because we understand that Robert Hunt is not going to do right by us unless he is instructed to by the feds. But other than that, right now he's under Tiffany Henyard's spell, and he's not going to turn over any proper paperwork. That's why a lot of people are getting mad and asking questions. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Well, y'all just got to realize that in May, the new team is taking over. So we understand that they might not be moving fast enough for everybody on the internet, and but y'all have to give them time to structure out what they're trying to do, because they already know that no matter what they do right now, there's somebody else coming in May that's going to shift all of this up and change a lot of things. So we have to just give them grace to do what they're doing. Even like with that guy that came to the meeting, the one that was dressed, Lord, in the little cowboy boot and hat and stuff, but he was coming to do a grant proposal, and it's like, dude, Tiffany Henyard is not even going to be in that chair in May. So why can't you wait until the new leadership team is in their office? But if you notice, he gave Tiffany Henyard a hug right away. Big Al, that's his name. He probably ain't gonna want to talk to me no more. Big Al, I'm sorry, but you can come on here and explain to me why you gave Tiffany a hug. But I think that we have to start paying better attention to our finances, and we have to have a leader in place that can get us back on track. And I just pray that everybody looks at people's skill set, what they can do right now, what they have done, and what they have proven.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can show it and you can show me what you have done, and you know you've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and you can prove it, then we can trust you. That's
Yeah.
being transparent. That's somebody that we want. You convince me that I should vote for you. But it's like if you are running from questions and you can't answer certain questions and you don't want to talk about certain things, or it's just so much deflecting going on with these candidates
Yeah.
about real, like even filing bankruptcy. That's another thing. I filed bankruptcy recently. Let me tell y'all
Yeah.
something. I messed my life up when I was sick. I was not thinking my shopping was an addiction for me, but guess who just filed bankruptcy? Your girl. Woo-hoo. I did. So
Right.
I say that to say that no, I'm just talking, but I say that to say that don't give me nobody's budget, because guess what? I'm gonna mess it up because that's not my forte. I'm not good at budgeting right now. So I wouldn't even want to take on a multi-million-dollar budget when I'm trying to get my own life back on track. How can I balance anything for an organization? How can I show y'all that I'm ready when I'm not ready? Because I still have to now regroup my life and try and get my life back on track. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like you have to look at the things that people have done in life. Not saying that I will never be on a level where I can be supervisor, but I wouldn't run. I wouldn't dare run for supervisor. I wouldn't run for trustee. I wouldn't run for anything right now because I know that I'm not ready. In my mindset, I feel like I be lying to the people.
Well, your passion and dedication, I think you would get pretty far just on that alone. Honestly, I think
Listen,
people would love to see you because they, you know what it is, they could tell that you care, and I think that means
I
a lot.
do.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
do.
And
I do. I care, and
you know,
I love Dalton. I love all the residents. Hey Sherry, hey Cecilia too. Hey everybody else that just joined in. But like I love my village. You know how it was when we grew up here. You
oh
know
yeah,
how much fun and family, and the street lights come on. Everybody got to hurry up and get home. I was just telling my son about that 2 days ago because he saw it on a cartoon. It was like, why are they talking about the street lights? What does that mean? Because you don't go outside, boy. That's what you don't understand that. But
it meant something.
exactly what you tell them. Like those street lights, everybody, mama outside. Get your ass in the house right now. So
Man, listen, all day.
But Dalton is it's like family. I've met so many valuable, and I'm always say this, I'm glad Sherry did just join on, because I met so many valuable people along this fight and along this journey. Y'all have to know that without Miss Sherry Britton, am I saying your name right? I'm bad with names. Don't judge me, Sherry. But I know your first name. But without Miss Sherry, we wouldn't even be where we're at today because she worked hard for Dalton. And I'm just very blessed and grateful that I met her when she was starting her fight. And Jason introduced us because Jason knew I was fighting by myself. One thing about that is, I was going in with a lot of people. And then me and her linked up, and then, we all formed a bond in a group, and we was all fighting together. But it's been a long journey, and the friendships that we formed and bond, I think we will have that forever. And I just think like everybody like always asks just why Dalton. I think Dalton is like family. We're a village.
Yeah.
It takes a village to raise a village basically, and we're all there. We're all helping each other. That's just, I don't know.
It's a special place, and no disrespect to Harvey, Riverdale, Cal
No,
City, South Holland, or whatever, but Dalton is something special in Dalton that
it
I
is.
think,
It is, and
and
it's funny because like my Dalton is my Dalton. Some of the other residents' Dalton is their Dalton for their grown-up years. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they didn't even understand our childhood and our significance to Dalton, but they have their own stake in Dalton as well. And it's like they understand the community. They have been helping build the community and doing stuff within the community. And it's like we have all been tremendous in adding value to Dalton, and we have to just continue.
Yeah. Well, I think it's inspiring though. You know what I'm saying? Because
it's
really,
just
the village and towns are made up of who's there. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people live places and they're not active and they don't get to the meetings.
Absolutely.
And they don't know what's going on. And I'm telling you, it's definitely a blessing to see everybody get together and I think people are watching this and they're inspired, you know, the trustees are like stars, you know what I mean? But
they are, oh my God. Everybody always asks me, they be like, where is Miss Valerie Stubbs? Where is Miss Mama Mary? Where is like they love Brittany, Kiana, Tammy, Ed Steve. Ed Steve is like a fan favorite. Everybody in love with Mr. Dan Lee. Like he's like
then Mr. Dan Lee, he's like
oh my God, he's like the Barry White of the group.
He's like the OG of the group.
Miss Thelma, you know, she's just a sweetheart. Like I said, Miss Sherry, Dr. Nikita. It's just been so many instrumental people throughout this fight, throughout this journey. And I'm just so glad that we have voted her out because, like I said, there was nothing that we did that was successful besides go to the polls and vote her out. And I just want everybody to understand that you have to vet people that you're voting for because we can't continue to make decisions based off of popularity. We can't let other people sway our decisions and say, and I'm not trying to sway anybody, but that's why I say vet. Look it up. Understand what they're putting out there before you go ahead and just make that vote. So it's just this election is so important. Jesus.
Tiffany, on that point, Tiffany didn't have a lot. She didn't have a lot of experience initially, but she had the personality and all that got her there and kind of the guarantee of.
Remember, she was 8 years as a trustee. Tiffany had experience because she did the whole 8 years as a trustee, so she learned a lot on the job. And also, Tiffany was groomed by Stan Brown. Remember, she spent a lot of time with Stan Brown, Frank Zuccarelli. You know, all of those guys that were grooming her to run for mayor. So her run for mayor was groomed by, I want to say, Zuccarelli. Because I don't know the full story, but that's from what I hear. He's the one that set her up to run for mayor and helped her with her campaign once she started to her campaign and to run against Riley Rogers.
Now, was the resistance? I know you had mentioned there was resistance in the beginning. Was the resistance that she was young
when she ran for mayor?
Yeah, when she ran for mayor, because it was, you know what I'm saying, it seemed like
when she was. So can I be 100% honest with I knew Tiffany and Tiffany lived across the street from me, if anybody wants to know. So like directly across the street from me, the house that she bought was my godfather's house, and he was shot and killed in the city of Chicago. But anyway, so she bought that house, and for all those years that Tiffany lived across the street from me, I never really mess with her because she was weird to me. And the reason why I say she was weird is because she hung around my uncle a lot. And my uncle, anybody that know my uncle from the neighborhood, everybody know my uncle. He was, you know, on drugs. So I never understood why this young girl hanging around an older guy that's on drugs. But now I see she hangs around a lot of older guys and she does drugs. I'm allegedly, but anyway. I never understood that and her association with my uncle, so I never messed with her. When Jason came to me and asked me to help them with their campaign, I did it just for the strength that that's my friend.
Right.
So I didn't know nothing about Henyard and what she was doing in the community because I didn't jail with Henyard, and Henyard lived right across the street from us. But I never dealt with her because I never understood her association with hanging with older guys and the drugs. Like my uncle was a known drug addict in the community, so I didn't get it. But so yeah, so there was no real hesitation because she had experience as far as being a trustee. She did have that. My thought process with her is that she didn't have experience as being a supervisor because she haven't dealt with any large amount of budgets like that. And even the budget that she was dealing with in Dalton, she misappropriated it. So she should not have been appointed in that position anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like it's been to a point now where people have learned enough now. And I think that Jason is the most professional. And
he is. And you know what? Jason is, not only is he the most professional, but he is not argumentative. He doesn't have kids. Not saying that America can have kids. So, that's not what he's running on. I'm a single mom. That's embarrassing because that's not really something that you should be running your campaign on as a grown woman. But, so he has a chance to start a family. But it's just like so many things that she have done wrong. I know that everybody in the world can look upon and say that, hey, when you go into positions, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, because they understand and they know now that, hey, we done seen some messed up stuff.
Right.
So I don't know, it's a lot, but I think that Jason is going to do a great job in this position. I think that Jason is calm, like I said, and level-headed, and he understands all of the damage that she have done with our budget, within our bank accounts, within our just whole area, period, the credit cards. So he understands the amount of work that he have to do day one when he's sworn into office to undo what she have done. Because like they said, the day that they sworn in, when he take his oath, he told me this yesterday personally. He said, Vivian, I'm going right over to that village town hall and take possession of it, as he should. Yeah. I told him I will be there because listen, and that's another thing, Sherry. I'm glad you just said that. She is only entertaining because she had people up underneath her that was supposed to listen because she was the mayor. Yeah. Tiffany to go out in public and do what she did, like she did when she was at that what am I trying to say? Diocese. Like, because she was the mayor, she was entertaining because she was allowed to be rude, allowed to be ignorant, and was never checked.
Right.
That's the whole thing, is that she was never checked. Tiffany tried to do that. I would love for her to go on Love and Hip Hop Chicago. They should make a Love and Hip Hop doc. I don't care. They should make just one just for her to see if she do what she did on this TV show to other women in attendance on this audience, like she did when she was mayor. She's not gonna do the same thing.
No.
So I don't understand her point of finding a reality TV show because you a clown. And after this, like you, nobody's scared of you, Tiffany. Nobody wants to fight you. Nobody's scared of you.
Yeah, people are looking for that. People looking for her for that. For what?
Oh, did I freeze?
Can
you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
When you have seniors that want to fight you, it's truly sad. That, like, you got senior citizens that's trying to come at you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where she go next. I think if anything, it's gonna be maybe a podcast, reality TV, something.
But what would she talk about? Like, do anybody in the audience know? Like, what could she do that would entertain you guys after this? Because the only reason why she was entertaining to the masses is because we, the residents, didn't give her what she wanted when she wanted it, as she wanted it. But they did have that one time when it went down and she actually jumped in like a clown. But understand that what would she give? What would she give that would be entertaining? She is not an entertaining person. Like nobody likes her voice. No, girl, no. But
Well,
yeah.
you know what? I would say she was. She
Would you
could.
watch her?
Would I watch her?
Yeah. So if she came up with a reality TV concept, would you watch her?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm watching the reality TV. I might, I might tune in for a podcast to see what she have to say, but only I'll be honest with you, just out of curiosity. I'm trying to understand how someone get an opportunity to be a trustee for that time, become a mayor, and it was an amazing opportunity to not only push
And a
the town forward,
supervisor.
and yes, and my bad, and supervisor at the same time, which will probably never happen again, right? So to take that opportunity and just crash out on it so hard, I'll be honest with you, I'm intrigued because I want to understand why. So I think some people will want to understand, like, what are you thinking? Is there something wrong with you?
Yeah.
Or did you do it purposely, or is you just don't know what you're doing? I think that there's some people who will be interested in that story to try to understand, because either she's wrong, right, which she obviously appears to be, or she's right and all of y'all are crazy.
No,
You
she's
know what
not
I'm saying?
right.
But
We're not crazy. We're very educated, very smart residents that you just can't pull the wool over our eyes and tell us the sky's orange and we're going to believe it. That's not going to happen. So Tiffany kind of underestimated the people that she was leading, and we should have been leading her because she's not intelligent enough to actually be a mayor, because some simple mayor should at least be able to spell, but that's neither here nor
well,
there.
let me ask you a question though. I'm to that point. Do you think if Alexis Wilson never happened and Fania Dukes alleged assault never happened, do you think she would have been on the radar as much? Do you think she could have skated through those 4 years without really people
Um,
really
I
starting to look?
I think those two controversies definitely shed her to a bigger audience. Um, Between that and remember the charity,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
okay.
then remember the 17,000 in the hoodies, and
Mm-hmm.
then she messing around with, like Sherry just said, the married boyfriend. Um, she's done so many things. Like, it would be hard. I wish somebody could make a list of like all of the failures that she have done in her 4 years, because it's so much.
Yeah.
I've been fighting so hard. Like, some things I forgot because she has done so much. But like, as far as like big scandals, I think that those two definitely hurt her. Definitely with Alexis Wilson, because remember, Alexis Wilson is the reason why she started the police overtime.
Right.
And remember, all of the police officers that were getting overtime pay that were exempt, like the chief or the deputy chief at that time, but he should have been coded different in the system. He should never have gotten any overtime payments.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that alone, because it's just now really ending, because she still throw people on the payroll whenever she can't get her way to get a payment some type of way or another. So it's like, I think that it would have, with all the other things, it would have just been overhyped. If that makes sense, because she have so many failures. I think that she would have still been constantly in the news. I think that those just help her be worldwide, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because there's not too many people, and Sherry Wright, Kamal is the mayor. There's not too many people that don't know Tiffany Henyard.
Right.
And it's not too many people that that haven't heard about Dalton. So I think that those two cases with Fania, and I wish that would have never happened to her. I still love her. And with Alexis Wilson, I think both cases are what what helped us be here. But where are we really? We just voted her out.
Well, we at a point now where Jason is obviously going to be mayor, and again, I think that there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn from looking at Dalton, and I think
It
that
is
that's the main thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot to
too
learn
much.
from it, and the thing about certain points in history, the learning points are there so you can go forward because
Right.
you know you can look at a period of time and say, you know what, this is what happened, and people, I mean, your kids are older, but there's other people with kids who are just, 3 years old, 4 years old, who are going to live in maybe
Mm-hmm.
even Dalton 15 years from now. You know what I'm saying? And there's a
Yep.
future. So at the end of my point is that everything is a drop of what they call a drop in the ocean of time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's always a future, and you want to make sure, okay, we don't never do anything like that again. And we have to make sure, like you said, that whoever is running the town and in charge of vital things for a town has to be qualified and has to have the right intentions and all of that. And that's the
Yeah, and
big
it's
lesson to
like
learn.
I think, in my opinion, and I'm not cutting you off, but
Go
to
ahead.
what you're saying, no, to what you're saying, when you say running a town, if you're taking over for a mayor position and the town is not struggling in a deficit and dire need, or the township is not bleeding out and we don't even know where our finances is, then that would be different. If you don't have experience, you could just come in and you still be able to maintain and do what a mayor or a township supervisor are supposed to do. It's harder when you have someone that has to come in and big shoes to fill. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That township responsibility is going to be huge shoes to fill. And you have to be able to come in there and be confident. Like when I used to get hired for roles, like they like when I used to do recruiting and stuff like that, like you have to tell people, hey, you have to have this experience. If you're not ready, then we'll have to let you go. That's why we give them 90-day probation period.
Right.
But you can't do that with a supervisor. So my thing is that I want somebody that can come in there and get started on cleaning out the township and doing what we need to do to get back on track. Which leads me to one other thing. To everybody that's listening now, tomorrow I'm going to come back on here on live, me, Sherry, and Dr. Nikita, and we're going to go over all of the candidates that's running on each sleigh personally. Because somebody just asked me about District 205. I don't have all the names in front of me. So tomorrow we're going to do that, and then that way you guys can know what candidates are running, who you can make your own decisions, because we're just letting you guys know what's going on. But that way you can make your informative decisions and bet who's running, to make sure you choose somebody that will help stop corruption, because we have corruption damn near in all these communities and we just got to get it stopped.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing the work you're doing. Like I said, Viv, I mean, the work you're doing, and people have to understand the work y'all are doing. When I say you, I mean all your whole team.
Everybody, right.
At the end of the day, it is ongoing work, because I would say, like, on a local level, corruption is something that happens all the time, and people aren't paying attention. You know,
No.
um,
And not only we not paying attention, we don't be involved in our local government
mhm,
to know what is going in, what's going out, what's coming out of our taxes. We just pay and keep living, and we don't ask questions. When we don't ask questions, that's how things become more and more and more, until it becomes burdensome. And then now all of a sudden you pissed off and you want to ask questions, you want to do this. But if you would have started doing things when those increases started, then maybe you'll start going to your local meetings. You'll understand where your tax dollars is being spent and what you can do to help curb some of this stuff, and why are they voting yes for this when they should be saving money over there. But we have to, like you said, be more vocal and be more involved.
yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's tax dollars coming in,
Mm-hmm.
grants. And then, I don't know where Dalton is as far as issuing bonds, but I'd imagine that I don't know. I don't know. Do you know where Dalton is as
You
far
know
as
what? I
bonds?
don't know what their bond status is right now. I know that Tiffany was not bonded for Dalton.
Okay.
I believe she lost her bond. Sherry, am I right? Is she not bonded right now in Dalton? And then if I'm to assume her bond ran out in February for the township as well, but I know that they did that insurance thing, so she might have got a bond through that.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe she is the bond status in Dalton. She don't have one.
Mm.
That's what I believe.
It's gonna be very interesting. But
So we'll talk about that tomorrow too, Sherry. Keep that in mind. Don't even answer. And we'll talk about Keith Freeman tomorrow. And I just want y'all to know that Keith Freeman is helping. Okay. I know people, he stole from us like a mug, us Robins. He was hitting all the villages up. Like, what? But I think that he knows that he fucked up. And I think that he is figuring out how to fix it so he can get some time out of jail or his sentence or whatever. So I think that now Keith is doing a great job on helping us. And I hear this from the clerk, so I'm not just making it up. But she's very excited with Keith and his progress right now. So you just got to yield him some time, y'all.
I meant to ask you, this is on the subject, but off the subject, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I see that they closed Chuck's gun shop down.
Yeah. You know what's the funny shit? I rolled past that, I think the day that they did it, because I saw orange tape in the window, and they normally when I ride past Chuck's, they open.
Yeah.
And then like that day I was like, and I had texted my sister, I think I was like, why is Chuck's closed in the middle of the day? It was just weird because I was on the Pace transportation bus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the article like 2 days later. I was like, oh wow. But I didn't know that they had so many weapons that was recovered on murder scenes. They've been doing that for years though. Let me stop saying I didn't know. I knew.
Crazy. Chuck's been around a long time. They
I knew.
used to be
I
a
got
little
my first gun card, my first FOIA card there.
from there. Okay. They used to
Yep.
be a little shop too. It was a little shop, and it
Yep.
just expanded.
Yep. Have you ever been in that gun range in the back?
I never been in a gun range.
Oh, it was so raggedy, but they had one.
Wow.
I've been there like once to the gun shop, but to the range. But yeah, I was surprised that they closed them down. But if it's true what they've been doing, then hey.
Well, the word is that they were they issuing gun? What was the story? From what I remember, it was either they were issuing guns to people who shouldn't have had them, or they had a lot of guns.
So what they were doing was a lot of the guns that was on let me see. I'm about to look up the article.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. That way I won't be making up stuff. Because I know that the preacher Flager, he's the one. He's the one of the ones that was behind the initiative to get them closed. He's been working years to try and get them closed because a lot of people in his community were plagued by the gun violence from the guns that were being sold by Chuck's.
Mm-hmm.
And so this article says, hold on 1 second. Let me try and present so y'all can see what I'm seeing. This is Chuck's share. All right, so Chuck's shop in Riverdale shut down after years of protests and investigation linking it to guns used in Chicago crimes, with many local activists celebrating its closure. Chuck's gun shop linked over 1,500 guns traced to Chicago crimes, has his his doors closed for good.
Interesting.
So this is the actual article. I think it's one of them. Yeah, here we go. So, a controversial gun shop in Chicago's South. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Wait.
That's wild work right there. 1,500 guns.
Hold on. I want to make sure I'm on the right screen. Sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. Okay, present this. Share. Okay. So this one, it just shows that, sorry, this thing is touchscreen. Controversial gun shop in Chicago South Suburban has closed after decades in business. Chuck's Gun Shop in Riverdale has faced harsh criticism and protests for decades, with gun control advocates saying it was a significant source of guns used in violent crime in Chicago, and Second Amendment supporters standing by its owners. Shop owners could not be reached for comment for the closure, announced only by sign. See, that's what I told you. When I rolled past it, was a sign in front of the door. Yeah, that they gone forever. Yes.
That's
Father
wild.
Flager, right. Mike Flager, pastor of St. Sabina Church on Chicago South Side, had rallied against the gun shop. Sorry, I touched. This thing is touchscreen. Don't judge me.
All good.
I was not trying to go with Coach, but he has rallied around the gun shop for years. He and Reverend Jesse Justin were arrested in 2007 for protesting. The Reverend called the store closure early Easter gift. Flager said he rumored, he heard rumors about 2 months ago that the controversy. So yeah, they closed. I was trying to see if they had an exact date on the date that they closed, but I don't see it. I'm not about to read all that.
If I am mistaken, it was like 2 weeks ago or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember when the day it happened, and I was so surprised. That thing Chuck's Gun Shop been around a long time. I mean,
man, listen, I was gonna buy my first gun from Chuck's. I was getting a Glock, the full size Glock, and what happened was they they had it, but theirs was like $700 and some, and I was like, dang, why does gun cost so much? And then I had went to Pelcher's, which is in Lansing, and I got it for like $500 and some.
Hey, listen, $200 made a difference.
Listen, especially back then, I got my gun when I was probably like, I used to do armed security. So, fun fact about me, I used to take people to the gun range a lot. Back in the day, I was like a chief, captain, whatever. Our ranks really didn't matter. I was just one of the ones that didn't have to go to work every day. But I used to go to the gun range all the time, and so I got my gun card early. I've been shooting for years.
Letting that thing ring.
That's why I have to keep my glasses up to date now, because I gotta make sure. Listen, I want to get the right person. Fuck around and find out. No, I'm sorry. Edit that out. But but yeah, I'm not gonna hold everybody. We've been on here for almost 2 hours. I know you got a family to get back to.
And good. I appreciate you. I appreciate
you, and I thank you so much for coming on my live. I hope everybody enjoyed our conversation. I just want y'all to know, Clean House 2025, we are voting for Napoleon's Democratic slate, and there's a couple other people that we'll discuss tomorrow as far as their runnings and who you guys should vote for. So I'll have Miss Sherry Britton and Dr. Nikita on tomorrow. But thank you, Kojo. And any final words for the guests?
Oh, just thank you for having me on as always. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be on yours soon, so you got to come back to mine. After the election, I'm going to invite you on mine, but I'll come on yours as well, so we can both do one. But definitely want you to come back after the election, because then we will see, we'll be able to talk about what's things going to look like going forward. Right. And tomorrow, me and Sherry, we said about 7:00 tomorrow. So today was 8, tomorrow 7:00. So if you guys can join back in tomorrow about 7 p.m., I truly appreciate it. And my last words is, you guys just be safe and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Happy almost Monday. Love you guys. Bye.
Peace and love.
All right.
Holla.